千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we delve deeply into the Daodejing by Lao Tzu. This story is called 以身作则, setting an example. And this comes to us from the Three Kingdoms period, about 1800 years ago, or roughly 700 years after the time of Lao Tzu. And for perspective, by the time we got to the Song dynasty, it had already been 1500 years since the time of Lao Tzu. So let me tell you this story about 以身作则, setting an example. Once upon a time in ancient China, during the Three Kingdoms period, which is about 1800 years ago, there was a warlord who was known for the discipline of his army. And he achieved that discipline by setting an example, 以身作则. He was a controversial figure. This historical figure who actually walked the earth was controversial in that he was often depicted as a cruel villain in literature, in works of arts, in entertainment, in plays, often depicted as a cruel villain. However, he was controversial because he was also praised as an effective ruler with great charisma, who treated his subordinates like family. So one day, he was leading his army on a march, and his army was passing through vast fields of wheat planted by farmers. Now, wishing to win the respect of the farmers, he gave strict orders to his men. No one was to step on the planting. Violators will be beheaded. It was important for him to send a signal to the farmers, let the people know he respected them. He respected their property, the crops that they had planted. Therefore, his officers dismounted and led their horses slowly through the fields, and the infantry, the foot soldiers, followed. His command, the command of the warlord, was relayed to all of his soldiers, so everybody was extra careful in crossing the field. They would use their hands to sweep aside the wheat stalks as they passed through, as to not disturb them. So this had an effect on the farmers who were watching from a distance. They were surprised. They were impressed. And this was because they were so used to marauding armies that did not give them a second thought. They did not care about them at all. These marauding armies would trample their fields, and it will be nothing. Will be nothing to them. So as the farmers watched them pass, they praised the leadership of the warlord. Some even knelt down to thank him. So everything was going well. Everything was going smoothly when all of a sudden a bird flew out from its hiding place among the wheat, right near where the warlord was, atop his horse. So this had an effect that startled his horse, and the horse, the frightened horse, reared up and charged off into a random direction into the wheat field, and the warlord tried in vain to struggle to control the horse, to bring the horse under control, to calm it down. Eventually, the horse did calm down, but it had already trampled a sizable area in the wheat field. So the warlord dismounted to look at the damage. Then he turned to his officers. He said, well, the rules are the rules. They apply to me just as much as they apply to any of you and all of the men. Let's proceed with my beheading. His commanders were like, what? They were all shocked beyond words. They were all, no, your grace, we absolutely cannot do that. The warlord said, you refuse to do it? Very well, I shall simply do it myself. He unsheathed his very sharp sword and proceeded to cut his own throat. All of his commanders rushed forward, grabbed his arms, grabbed his hands. Stop him. Your grace, please, please, no more of this. If you kill yourself, who will lead us? Please, you cannot do this. So they pleaded with him. They refused to let go until he relented. So he shook them off. He nodded to them. All right, something must be done. Instead of cutting off my own head, I shall now cut off my hair. So he went ahead and did exactly that on his blade. Then he said, let this be a reminder to everyone that I absolutely mean every word I say. And this was the example from the warlord, Cao Cao, when he followed the principle, 以身作则, to set an example. And now what I would like to do is to break down this expression, 以身作则, for everyone. So here are the characters. Here is the pinyin, 以身作则. Here's the meaning. The literal transcription, first character is with or use. The second character is the body or the self. And then use the body, how, as example. The last character there is the character for example. So the meaning, when you put it together, is pretty easy to decipher. It means use yourself to set a good example for others to follow. This particular warlord was also a poet, was a highly literate man who had studied 论语, the Analects of Confucius. And keep in mind that Confucius himself also predated this warlord by hundreds of years, 600 or 700 years roughly. He read 论语, the Analects of Confucius, extensively, and there was a passage that he knew very well, which is what motivated him to do exactly as he did. That passage is as follows. 其身正, 不令而行. What does that mean? When one is upstanding and honorable, others will follow, even without any commands. So guys, this is the secret of 德性. When one has virtue, when one has integrity, people follow. You don't even have to try to convert anyone. They will follow on their own. So when one is upstanding and honorable, others will follow even without any commands. And then this is followed by this line. 其身不正, 虽令不从. This is the opposite scenario. When one is not upstanding and honorable, others will disobey even with explicit commands. Everybody is going to be like, why should I listen to you? You're not even You can even follow your own rules. You want everybody to do X, Y, Z, but you can't do it yourself. Why should I do it for you? So he understands this lesson of leadership, and that is why he takes pains to set up a rule and then obey and honor that rule just like everyone else. That's the essence of 以身作则. This brings us back to the example of authentic Tao sages like Chen Qianren, that's Grandmaster Chen, and there is another Tao sage that I was very fortunate to meet, Cai Qianbei, Grandmaster Cai. They both exhibited this particular quality, 以身作则, and they both influenced so many people without trying to influence anybody. They were both easygoing, down to earth. They were never demanding. They never demanded obedience from anyone. Far from it. They focused on themselves. They focused on their own practice. They wanted to make sure that they themselves do it right. But the vast majority of the people who encounter them are inspired by them. I know because I was inspired and I saw the same reaction from everyone else. What is their secret? What is the secret of Chen Qianren and Cai Qianbei? Well, nothing more than what we have talked about here. 不言之教, the teaching without words, 以身作则, to use yourself as setting an example for others to follow, and 其身正, to have honor, to be upstanding, honorable, have integrity, and that consistency that everyone will naturally and automatically respect. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.